GW, highlights the evolving nature of warfare in the digital age, where non physical and covert tactics play a significant role in achieving strategic objectives. I've just lost half the audience. I've lost half the audience. People don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear this. This bothers people because I can bring this up to your attention all day long. But what I have here, if you look at the dolls, if you look at the uh, Matryoshka dolls, the biggest doll, the one that everybody is, this is icky. It's that little doll. That's the one who gets it. But there are very few of us, for reasons I think we can sit around and we can explain. I don't know if you want to explain it. See, here's what's the most important thing. If all of a sudden Joe Biden in this particular iteration of whatever these were to disappear from the face of the earth, it would take you 25 years to maybe to suspend the damage, but correct it, to reverse it. Say 25 years without any interruption, any force. They would have to be stopped. It's almost like there's a societies heal. Let me explain this. There is a natural stasis that societies want to always maintain. And people, if left to their own devices, naturally want to live in a world that is peaceful, where people get along. And that's their goal. They have inside, not that they're good, but more that they just don't want to be bothered. They think that crime is negative. They think that crime is a problem. They think a lot of things if left to their own devices. So when you allow a society to heal, it'll correct itself. But you've got to get rid of people that are the pathogens. For example, if you have a scar, it will heal. There might be a little scar, or rather a wound. It might heal, but there'll be a scar. But you have to let it heal. You can't keep adding new irritants. That's what's happening here. It is so far gone. If all of a sudden, remember, it's been 37 months since the inauguration. That's it. 37 months. Look what happened in 37 months. I can't even begin. If all of a sudden I could just stop, if I could take all of the people that we identify as a bad people, if I could do this and stop them, just stop them, where they don't say anything, they don't do anything, they can't do any harm, it would take 25 years of healing and correction to outdo what they've done. And then when you add to this a very immature society, a very simple society, a society that doesn't really want to get down, who loves the surface level, who was given the greatest, one of these little, this is a mouse, of course, but imagine this was your phone. It was given this device that just keeps them occupied forever. They're so busy. It's wonderful. Society was far more dangerous years ago when we had only 3 networks and newspapers. Far more dangerous. People really knew what was going on. And now we have so many levels. And by the way, in this world right now, in this information system, the truth is there. It's that little tiny doll, but it's there. But you got to know where to look. But here's the thing. People aren't going to go look there because they're not interested in it. So just keep this in mind. How this permeates is a different story. Give an example. This is Ellen and I were watching. We're kicking back, and I always love. I've been on not a kick, but I've been fascinated by this notion of catastrophe, disaster. I've done this. I've obviously talked about our friends at mypillow.com, but also preparewithlionel.com. And to me, it's a very interesting thing. And I find this so fascinating. And what's interesting about this, what I feel is so unique, and this is that disasters deal with not just the disaster, but the reaction after, the reaction to the disaster. That's the problem. That's the thing. You know, it's so funny when you talk to people about heart attacks and atherosclerosis and all this jazz. You get to the point where people will misunderstand it. For example, people think that if you have a pipe, pipe, imagine this like a copper pipe or something in your sink. That hole, that space where the water passes through is called the lumen. This is the opening. Has a great name, the lumen. And people think that when water passes through it, there's sediment in the water, and this sediment kind of builds up and builds up, and the hair and the grease and the fat and the crap, and it goes through this pipe and it starts to build up sediment, builds up this area. And then pretty soon that clogs up, and you got to run a rotor-rooter or whatever you want to call it through it. That's what people think happens in coronary artery disease. That's the way they think, that the fat in your system just goes through, but that's not what happens. It's the inflammation that is caused. And you know when you have a zit, how all of a sudden the zit forms a little bubble, and then it fills with a pus, and then it comes to a whitehead, and then maybe they say, don't pop it. Don't pop it. And if you leave it alone, it might go back, or it just may pop on its own. Well, that's what happens when the inner lining of this lumen, called the endothelium, this little bubble, little inflammation, and that starts to grow and grow and grow. And it's filled with gook and plaque and crap. But there's this little cap on top of it, and everything's fine. It's there. It's there, and the stuff gets through. The blood gets the blood gets through. And then one day, if it's unstable, not if it's hard, but if it's unstable, one day the blood goes by and takes off a layer of that cap, and all of a sudden, boom, this garbage opens up, and there you have a clot. And that's it. And that's it. Done. Heart attack. That little thing, ischemia, lack of oxygen, heart attack. Boom. And everything shuts down after that. That's what happens. It's very deadly, very, very simple if you think about it. It's very, very simple. And that's what happens to us. That's what happens to us in a weird way. Our stuff just becomes stuffed and clogged, and everything stops. And we don't really know it. And sometimes, by the way, the worst part about heart attacks, sometimes the only symptom people have ever had is death. How about that? Our good friend Wendy says, feeling bored? Do what Lionel does and get a large baconator. Well, I don't do that, but we're so much more than a restaurant. We're a family. Thank you. You know, I've missed you, Wendy's. God bless you. Thank you for that. This is one of the clever, it's wonderful. But thank you. Thank you for that. Now, as we speak, it'll take 25 years for everything that has been set up to be undone, shut down. Our system is about to all of a sudden just shut off. And we are looking at things like, oh, I don't know, the Biden impeachment story. It's interesting. We're looking at the elections. It's very interesting. We're looking at this New Mexico governor, Grisham, and her gun edicts. That's interesting. That doesn't even matter. I want to tell you about this. I was going to tell you, Mrs. L and I were watching this show called Earth Storm. Earth Storm. And it was one of those things which I found so fascinating. And again, it deals with disasters because I'm into disasters lately. And as these storm chasers were doing their stuff, as they were going out, and as they were talking about these incredible storm systems, it was incredible with drones and all of this stuff, they stopped and they said, and unless we get a handle on global warming, climate, we're going to see more of these. In a Netflix documentary, Fifth Generation Warfare, informational systems, slipping it in always. And I thought, this is just so brilliant. Getting you ready, but also blaming something. There were more tornadoes, more tornadic activity in, I think, 2004. He said like 1,800, almost 1,820 tornadoes, never before seen. Think about this, 19 years ago. Okay, maybe, who knows? Maybe whatever it was. But do you see what's happening? And what's the most interesting is that this is a part of this huge mosaic of information, disinformation. These people who are coming in and changing everything kind of behind the background. And the more interesting it is, the more interesting the subject matter. For whatever reason, it doesn't capture the attention of anyone. I can't say this enough. Listen to especially those platforms, news, which supposedly, or supposedly, as people say, try to cater to the more conservative or right wing. It's the most rancid, bilious, non-talk, filled with cliches, and I thought, oh my God. What we are seeing right now is at levels, and it's right in front of you. Remember, the little doll, little Matryoshka doll. We're the one at the very end. We're that little one. Rather, the Matryoshka. We're that little doll there. And there's so much information. Think about this. It will take, and when you get done with this stuff, it will take, as I said, 25 years to undo everything. I don't even, in the old days, maybe you don't remember this, but in the old days when people had regular computers, MS-DOS, and you could go in and hit C prompt, you go into their system. And if you went to somebody's computer, you could just type gibberish into their auto exec bat and ROM sys dis bis and all that, and then somebody comes back and they say, "What's wrong with the computer?" I don't know. And that one little entry, that one little thing you did that sent it off into some weird, skewed, nonsensical gibberish site, that changed everything. That's where we are right now. That's the thing. It is so fascinating. And what I do, I'm going to tell you something which I do. And I must admit this, and I will be the first one to admit it. And I'm always, 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 always trying so hard to balance the message aspects of this, but not backing myself into a corner where there's no commercial worth of what I'm doing. The greatest musicians of all time will never truly ever say, this is the music I want to perform, because they'll say, no, this doesn't work. As Charlie Watts was probably never better than when he did jazz stuff, but his jazz stuff didn't work. What we do here on platforms like this is to play to the lowest common denominator. We live in a world of metrics and likes and subs, and we love to affirm and pat people on the head and tell them what they want to hear. That's what we do. And no matter whenever you get away from it, Try explaining to someone. I tried this the other day and I can see it. I see it like you can't believe. Try explaining to somebody how central bank digital currency, CBDC, how it changes everything, how this is going to forget it. Just stop. The most important this is fifth generation. This is 5GW right here. Try to explain your concerns over tampering with the hardware of the human system. See, nobody cared years ago when they said, this might affect women, young girls, and their fertility. For example, growth hormones. Growth hormones in certain foods would cause young girls, because you want to have, if you have, milk, and if you have, or if you have, livestock, you want them to grow fast. You want chickens with big breasts. You don't want what a chicken is, like a scrawny little thing. No. You want these bigger roasters, and you're going to blast these things years ago. And they say they've changed it. And all of a sudden, little girls were having their periods at the age of, 4, 5. I said, wait a minute, what? No, I can't be. That might be exaggerated. Maybe 7, 8, 9, 10. What happens? Because of these hormones. And that got their attention. Oh, I didn't know that. That makes sense. That got their attention. Wow. You know what ever happened? Nothing. Girls could have if it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Remember the chiffon margarine commercial? When you told people this, they didn't respond. And I don't understand why that is, because there's a blood-brain barrier, this weird firewall when it comes to medical things like that. Maybe. Every now and then somebody would say, hey, I think there's a link between aluminum and Alzheimer's. Oh. It's the strangest thing. I don't understand it. What is it that gets people's attention? What is it that gets people's attention? I don't know. Not only do they not understand, there's two things people don't understand. Number one, things that are happening and things that could happen. For example, when I mentioned the My Patriot Supply piece, prepare with Lionel, you're going to have to ask somebody, imagine something happening. Imagine something happening. Okay, you want me to imagine? Yes, imagine what it would be like if. This is called consequence. And I don't want to freak people out, but this is the classic mechanism of the psychopath. Psychopaths can, and I'm not saying you're a psychopath, but psychopaths cannot appreciate consequence. They can't look at the future. What do you mean? No, if you do this, but imagine, like I mentioned, that artery, I was in one little tiny little artery gets clots. It's so easy. One little, and you're dead. That's it. Dead. Takes one little tiny, because this system is occluded. Then you have ischemia. You have lack of oxygen, and you get a stroke. Or boom. That's it. Okay. It's very, very simple. If there's ever any kind of breakdown in supply chains, people look at you like this, and I see their eyes. It takes just one store closing down, and then the media will come in and will push it because they want to be the first of the story. Today, Sam's Club, today, Piggly Wiggly closed their, why? Because they couldn't get supplies, or they couldn't get whatever it was. And the crowds were getting a little, so they decided to maybe close down a little bit. And then the next thing you know, boom. And then people start panicking. That's all it takes. It's this little panic. It's like a heart attack. Boom. And you tell them this, and they look at you like this, and nothing connects. You spell it out for them. And then when you talk about saving, and by the way, yes, this is a commercial, $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit for emergency food, life-saving stuff. It's like if you sell first aid kits, if you sell medicine, antibiotics, it's it's a good product. They look at you, and here's the thing: they don't understand. They don't. It doesn't connect. And when you say this, do you understand that what we are in right now is what really is an information war? And that out of all of these people yakking and talking, and there's a certain truth out there. If you're the last one of the Matryoshka dolls, if you get this, there's so much great stuff. And when you talk to people about what they have to worry about, what is happening next, and when you also tell somebody, you have to think bigger. You have to think in a bigger sense. You have to think of you're wasting your time. We're looking at something right now which is so fascinating. We are in a war, so to speak, and nobody's going to have to shoot weapons. Remember the Nord Stream pipeline? We blew this up. Everybody notices it. Everybody knows it. What's been done with it? Take your time. What's been done with it? That's the next part of this. Amnesia. And I don't even think it's amnesia. If I said to you on Thursday, if I say, Porneshniga, and you listen to it, and then tomorrow I say, remember that word I told you? Yeah. Oh, you forgot. No, I didn't forget it. I never processed it. I didn't know what it was then. There was nothing to forget. Yeah, but you forgot. No, I didn't forget. I didn't forget anything. It never processed. I don't know. It's not. The Nord Stream pipeline. I don't know what that means. The U.S. is blowing up. Protestnia. I don't know what these words mean. This is sabotage. That's America. And by the way, the 5th generation warfare is so easy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And here are the people who are the enemies, or the people that you think are your friends. We have a problem in this world right now with obesity, with health, and everything. Yeah. Okay. There are some companies that just say I like to see Twinkies. I think they're still making Twinkies. I don't know. Twinkies. We're not changing our name. We're not doing anything. It's Twinkies. We're not putting light. We're not putting natural. It's Twinkies. Spam is spam. We're not apologizing. We're not changing anything. That's the way that is. That's what we're doing. I respect that. The people I dislike are the ones who say light, natural, trail mix. Who was the genius who came up with trail mix? It's nuts and candy. No, it's for when you're on the trail, when you need energy. It's candy. No. Twinkie will give you energy. No. It will. Sugar? Absolutely. Boom. That's what these people are doing. And right now we are in the middle of this 5th generation warfare. We are being hit with stuff that is so complicated, where sometimes I got to tell you something. It is so daunting to sit back and realize, what the hell are we talking about? And then the beautiful thing, and this is where capitalism gets in the way of stuff. I am a capitalist through and through. When we do things that borderline on socialism, it's not really socialism. I believe in free markets. And by the way, not because I'm some Milton Friedman guy. No. It's just, I think this is human nature. Let people go out and let them compete. New York still has the best pizza anywhere per square foot than any place in the world. It's not a novelty. Maybe Italy, Rome, but still. And you know what the reason for that is? Competition. This place has to be better than that place. Competition, free markets. Let people go out and do it. That's why public schools and all this stuff, I think, are just the worst. Let human nature get government out of the way. I know I sound like it, but let human nature do it. You see what we do. Human nature brings us, and by the way, now that let me explain something to you. Listen to me. Do you know what Spotify is? A new music. It's almost like, in a weird way, pure, real free market capitalism, not socialism. All of a sudden, somebody says, "I have access to studio, my home. I've got Pro Tools. I got this and that, and I'm going to put." And whoever these new country guys, the Fred Ziffels with the beard, those guys. They're doing this country, which is great. And the reason why is this is pure capitalism. The free market. Remove the barriers. What were the barriers before? Labels, radio. No, we don't need that anymore. I'm having the best music now I've ever seen in my life. It's the greatest thing. Because you want to know what good music is, or good news is? The music. When you remove this, now not all music is coming out as great, and that's up to you, but let the market decide. This is pure. This is Adam Smith. This is classic Milton Friedman. This is libertarian. This is Mont Pelerin Society. This is Hayek. And just let people decide. Okay. If we ever get to the world of real free news systems where it's unencumbered, unedited, unexpurgated, uncensored, pure, if we ever really get to that, it'd be so great. So great. But then what would happen? The market would take place. And people who want to talk about what I want to talk about are going to be overwhelmed in a tsunami of stuff that doesn't lend itself to. You want that meat and potatoes, kind of Candace Owen, Ben Shapiro world of that's it. No offense, no disrespect, but easy. Real, okay. And if that's what the market brings, okay, that's it. But the problem is that free markets will kill the important stuff, the big stuff. Do you know what orphan drugs are? Orphan drugs are drugs that are not researched because there's not a lot of need for it. When Tourette's medications, there was a great Quincy episode. When Tourette's medication, Tourette's and neurological diseases, they found that there wasn't the market for this. So consequently, there wasn't the need, and people who desperately needed it, but the money was into things like antidepressants and lipids and blah, blah, blah. So that's the problem. And unless we have a group of people who understand what I am saying, we'll never be able to change the course of this. We'll always be going for people who are going for the Twinkies. And I'm sorry, and I don't want to sound elitist, and I don't want to sound like, oh my God, but there is so much great stuff. I heard something the other day from James Corbett that could have been in my, it would be in my class, my college class. It would be absolute now you can argue, of course, about it, but perfection in terms of presentation. Adult, rational, respectful, wasn't filled with expletives, not screaming and yelling and that sort of thing. There is so much information out there, so much for you to know, so much that you have to know. And once you get this, once you are enlightened, once you understand this, then you'll be able to look at this and say, this is a distraction. Stop it. You're wasting my time. Stop it. Stop doing this. Stop doing this. This isn't important. Right now, there is a debate going on. Let me see if I can explain this. New plate. Let me explain this to you. There is an impeachment inquiry that has been announced by the House to show you the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans in our country. when the Democrats said, we're going to have an impeachment inquiry regarding President Trump, it was unanimous immediately. Boom. In like a couple of days, that was it. Next. But the reason why Kevin McCarthy does not want to do this, the reason why he doesn't want to have a House vote, is because he doesn't want people to come forward and have some wishy-washy, or maybe lose, or maybe have it less than a majority. Because the Republicans are not committed. Not only that, the Republicans in the Senate, who nobody's even worrying about, Thune and others, are saying, I don't know if this is enough information. Okay. Now, I just explained that to you. Let me ask you a question. The people who run the world, the people who run our world right now, are thrilled with this impeachment stuff. It is such, it's nice, it's great, it's important. It is such a waste of time in the scheme of things. But it's red meat for you. How do you think this works? How do you think this works? Think about this. This is what you want to hear. How do you think this works? We have right now in our, quote, group, in our audience, very simple members who don't care anything about this. This is not their concern. When we were, when you watch something, first time you see a rocket go up, some people may say, wow. Other people may say, how did that do that? And then they go on and they say, well, is there, and they somehow they're inspired. Other people just look at the rocket. And that's what most people are. And I'm sorry to say this, but that's what most people are. Most people are looking at just the simple fact of hey, this is great. Biden seems to be upset, or we're going to impeach him. Hunter Biden, Miranda Devine, and that stupid laptop. It's a distraction because it's kind of moot. Yeah, it's important, but it's completely sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. Why is that? Why is that? So I can talk about this all day long, but it's not, I'm still going to do it. But the real issues, the real problem, if you were to stop this right now, if I were to snap my fingers, and every Democrat, everybody from the White House to the Democratic minority in the House or the majority, if everybody just stopped, never opened their mouth, it would take 25 years to correct a few things and maybe reverse a few. This is how bad it was in 37 months. Then we got to stop. And you're never going to hear this. 37, think about this. January 20th, 2021. That's all it was. Look what happened. It's mind-boggling. And what we are seeing right now, the big picture is down. Oh my God. Let me tell you something. Your kids, your grandkids, your whatever, are going to see the introduction of, let me just say this to you, immunology, drug treatment, drug warfare, you will see, you will not understand or be able to comprehend what's coming down the road. You're not. And here's the best part. In all of this talk about vaccines, there were some very smart words, and then the lunatics. And the lunatics always push the smart people out of the way. You know what I mean? The people who all of a sudden, they learned one word, mRNA, and that's all they took. They're off to the races. And the people who might be involved in nefarious stuff, they're saying, bingo. Got it. You could, if you wanted to, not that this is whatever happened, but let's assume hypothetically, you wanted to destroy a building through a controlled demolition, purely hypothetical, I would say do it. I don't care who you are. You can be government, you can do whatever it was. It doesn't matter. Because within 5 minutes, you will have in this group of people who react the truth and the lunatics. And the lunatics will always rise at the top and they will completely destroy the entire discussion thanks to the internet. They always win. Do you know that one of the most important people in our cultural world today, you know who it is? Joy Behar. Joy Behar gets more airtime than anyone. Than Mearsheimer or Sachs or anybody else. Joy Behar. Joy Behar is quoted, dumbass, crazy, whatever, more than anyone else. That's who we are today. People who are that we perceive to be ludicrous. It's the most incredible thing in the world. Now you got to step back and say, what do we do to fix it? I don't know. I don't know what to do. Joy Behar gets more. There was more because it's low-hanging fruit. Now, this I know. There right now are people involved in news who don't know anything about news. People who have been involved in other media, radio or TV or whatever, but they're part of they're part of this executive hierarchy, and they come along and they say we're going to do this project, and they're trying desperately, and they still think that this is relevant. So they want to be the next CNN, they want to be the next Fox News, they want to be whatever it is, and you have a plethora. You have Fox, of course, and Fox is a shell of what it was. It's an absolute nothing exciting, nothing biting, nothing, absolutely nothing shocking, dangerous, nothing Roger Ailes would even recognize today. You see what I'm saying? You've got others as well. Newsmax, they're nice. And then I don't know if OAN's around, and they do their stuff. And then they have, and there's some other great stuff. The Rising is good, and Breaking Point or whatever these ones was, Sagar and Crystal or whatever. Very good, but still, it's good. It's good. But when it comes to cable in particular, it's the same folks. And their barometer, they know nothing about the news. Imagine this though. Imagine doing this. To be a sports producer, you have to know sports. You have to really know, and sports people know it inside and out. If I'm going to do hip hop or jazz or opera, I have to know the medium. If I do a magazine on, if I do the Paris Review or the London Review of Books or whatever, I have to be involved in the publishing world. I can't be, because I was in publishing. You can't take me. I was publishing race car books. But that's what people do. So these idiots say, I can do a news show because I think I know what news is. I'm on Twitter. Hey, this is good. This person got 1 million. Oh, this is great. This is stupid. Doesn't matter. This guy, let's do this. How did they? Oh, that number. Oh, that was good. Those numbers are good. Do this again. That's the way people think. And let me go back to what I said before. YouTube, Rumble, whatever it is, name the program. It doesn't matter. The way to kill it is to use free market, capitalism, numbers and metrics. Numbers and metrics will kill you always, because whatever falls to the lowest common denominator will get the most numbers. And what I mean by that is something very simple and something very fluffy, something with a lot of pictures and graphics and sound and it's just this very, very simple thing, and that's fine. That's the reality. I can't. It's like you can't fight gravity. You can't fight this. And as long as that audience base is there, we're just wasting our time. So it's fun. There we are. We can be part of the Matryoshka doll. We can be that little one over here and talk about fifth generation. And we could talk about weird, call of Hegelian, this and that, and all of us who. But we're going to be forever, and you must understand this. We're never going to win because there aren't enough of us, because nobody wants to hear this. This is too dry. I'm sorry to say this. This is too dry. You understand this, right? Nobody wants to talk about central bank digital currency. What are you doing? Good luck with that one. The Nord Stream pipeline. Oh my God, it's ancient. I don't even know what that means. They don't know what that means. Nothing. Remember those stories of Russian soldiers too drunk to drive their tanks? People that were on their phone calling their mommies. I don't know why I'm with these people. I want to go home. Remember that? The Russians, and I've heard of it. They have no fighting ability, no competence, no will. They're weak. They're imprisoned. Atesticular sots, lumber. That was great. You know why? A lot of pictures. You know what the answer to things are? The Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is news and advertising perfection. So let me just say this to you. While we are talking about, and it's interesting, while we're talking about the Democrats are freaking out and Sams is sending emails, hey, you better watch out what you're doing, and Kevin McCarthy's lumbering up, and Miranda Devine with her Biden laptop from hell. Give it up. I mean, is this it? Is there going to be a museum one day with that's the laptop? And don't forget, by the way, who was responsible for making the laptop available. It's not the laptop, but the contents. Rudy Giuliani. And look what they did to Rudy. This is great. But there are people high up the food chain in the shadow government hierarchy in the front office who are saying, this is the greatest thing in the world. Let them argue about this. Because we're going to have next in line, signing up for this, we're going to have our friend Gavin Newsom standing right there. The California Mafia, the Gettys, remember the Gettys, the Newsoms, the Pelosi's, not the Browns. That's the new group to watch. And they're just watching this. Watch this. Watch what's happening. And what you see involving the world, if you think big pharma is done, wait till we get into the following. Remember when all these people, did you ever do one of those DNA tests? Hey, I found out I'm Scandinavian. You notice how nobody's talking about that anymore? Why do you think that is? Remember that? 1, 2, 3, me, DNA, G, whatever it is. Remember that? Why don't you think anybody? Why don't you do this? Remember how big that was? Where do you think that came from? Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to those people? Think about that. We talked about DNA all the time. Do it like this, send it in, and we'll send you back where you're from. Remember that? Remember? Well, what happened? Why isn't that big money anymore? Did you literally do everybody in the world? I don't know. But it just went away. Now, with all of that information and all of that, because that genome is you, not just your DNA, it's you. When you take all of that stuff, one day you're going to have certain specific markers that are available, and you're going to have weaponization that is available and dispersed, perhaps just spitballing here, perhaps via high altitude spraying, something that people inhale, little nanoparticulates, God knows what you have been breathing for all these years what you have been, where your entire world, every square inch covered by something that you never wanted to look at because you thought, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. I mean, come on. But what if they found out one day that, oh, I don't know, Syrians or Russians or Muscovites or people from Kiev have a greater, let's say, genotype in this particular genetic marker, and we can perhaps adjust some of our, I don't know, activation aerosols to attack or to affect certain people, to perhaps make people more lethargic. See, I don't want to build prisons. I want people just to calm down. I want them to not go elsewhere. I want them to stay together and not drive, not walk, not think, not marry, not interconnect. I don't want them to breed. I don't want this. It might take a generation. I've got plenty of time. And some of these people are fun just because they just enjoy this. There's like this great kind of a weird social engineering thing. But there are things that are so. And if I can think about them, it's already 10 years old. If I can think of something, it's 10 years old, at least. And we don't have that curiosity anymore. We don't have people in our world who think this. So let me just leave you with that. You think about what I'm saying. You think about something. And there's I'm doing it on my private channel. I'm doing just these fascinating worlds of, let me just read you. Now, remember, this is ChatGPT. This is approved. 5th generation warfare. 5GW is a form of warfare that primarily relies on non-kinetic military actions and strategies. Unlike traditional warfare that involves direct physical conflict, 5GW encompasses a range of tactics and methods, including social engineering, misinformation and disinformation, cyber attacks, emerging technologies, covert operations, exploiting vulnerabilities in the economic and infrastructure. I mean, it is so beautiful. And while to me it does nothing but just enliven it, I find it so fascinating, so literally, actually fascinating. Nobody else will, for reasons I don't know. They'll talk today about Biden. What are the Democrats saying? What are the Republicans saying? What did Karine Jean-Pierre say? What did Jim Jordan say? What did Joy Behar say? What is Scott Sean Hannity say? Did he say anything? Did he say anything? Who else did McCarthy say anything on that? Yeah. What about the White House? Joe didn't say anything. Marjorie Taylor Greene, did she say anything? What about Boebert? Who said anything? And that's it. And that will be, and there will, by virtue of this coverage, that will create this momentum, this feeling like, wow, this is really important. Why? Because all these people are talking about it, and you will believe that. And then people who are looking to do their subject say, we got to do a video on the whatever. Why? Because everybody's talking about it. And this is where capitalism kicks in. This is where the market says, oh, that's the trend. It's like when paninis first 10 years ago, I don't know. They've always had paninis, but all of a sudden everybody was panini. Remember when people were gluten-free all of a sudden overnight? We got to be gluten-free. What's gluten? I don't know. So that's where today's news is. Keep going. And look at this. And if you really want to see it, if you want to see the first level of conservative epidermis, go to National Review, because they cover the most, moderate, innocent, unimportant issues there are. Go there. Next, go look at Fox and see what Breitbart does. Breitbart is nothing but the hits. Top 40 conservative news. Oh, they can't do that with the guns. Most people, as we talked about it, don't understand this New Mexico, the Second Amendment. That's not it. So that's this world of, look at all these activities. Look at this. It's like watching an anthill that's been adjusted. Wow, this must be a really important issue here because they're all talking about this. No, that's not it. That's it. This other stuff is going on. What is happening? Nah, we don't want that. It's too much, too down the road, and too. We like this. You understand what I'm saying? Are you ready to do this? Are you ready to do it? Well, one thing you could do too is you can always support our sponsors. The great My Pillow. Have you ever had Giza sheets? Have you ever had when you're in bed with great sheets, pillows that make you? It's like another. It's the oldest concept in the world. Wonderful bedwear, linens, blankets, duvets. It's going to be cold coming up. Pillows in every conceivable form and shape. Go to mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, get a free gift, and look at the sales that are aplenty. And also, my friends, like I told you, preparewithlionel.com. I'm telling you right now, the issue is going to be when some sick bastard says, all right, let's do the food thing. Let's see what they do. Why? We haven't had a good, we've never really seen these people nuts. Do it. Ready? Do it. Okay. Because everything else has been kind of close. We've had some runs, toilet paper runs during COVID, maybe some bread and milk after hurricanes, but nothing quite like this. Oh, yes. Preparewithlionel.com. You know I'm right. There's nothing like being right. And when I'm right, that's always scary. I mean it. All right, dear friends, have a great and a wonderful and a glorious time. Thank you so much. And by the way, Wendy's, thank you for your kindness. That was so I'm so appreciative of your having to do it. Thank you very much for that. We'll see you tonight, my friends, at 7 p.m. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. Now remember what I'm saying. Let me leave you with this very quickly. Nobody's going to hand this to you. Nobody's going to say, okay, this is today's story. This is our lesson plan. You're going to have to take it upon yourself to do the right thing. Do you hear what I'm saying? You're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to study actively. Be an autodidact. Do it. Okay? Nobody's going to hand this to you. Nobody's going to tell you this is your lesson plan. And if you're watching cable news, God help you. See you tonight at 7. Don't forget this. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.